Hello, it's Mike here. Today we're at a car show, and it's an EV car show at IKEA. And so we're going to go take a look around, see what different vehicles people brought today, maybe interview some of the drivers, get some information from them. We've got some new vehicles over here, and also in this area we've got personally owned vehicles down this row as well. So quite a few different vehicles to take a look at today, so let's take a walk around and see what we can find. Here's one of the cars we got at the car show today. It's a 2024 Tesla Model 3, and this one even has insane mode. And as you can see, it's the candy apple red color as well. Highland, brand new vehicle, so looking very nice. And if you ever wanted to know how you can tell if you have insane mode, that is right there. So I will show you that. You have that symbol on it. Otherwise, it looks a lot like the other Model 3s, but certainly this color really shines beautifully in the sunshine. So it's definitely a good looking car, and of course very fast, faster than you might need. So let's take a look at the interior of this 2024 Tesla Model 3 Performance. And with the Performance model, you've got a little extra graphic there on the seats as well. And as we know with this version, there's no more stalks for turn signals, and for the shifter, it's all built into, well, the turn signals are built into the steering wheel right here, and then the shifter is built into the left-hand side of the center screen as well. So really nice, sharp-looking car, especially with the white interior. And the Performance also has very bolstered seats as well. So when you're going around those track corners, you can really enjoy the performance of the car. So also the back seat on the new Highland does come with a screen as well. So you've essentially got 3-zone climate control. You got 2 in the front and 1 in the back, and the rear passengers have their own opportunity to change their climate control as well. And again, we do have the beautiful white seats. So it's really sharp looking vehicle and excellent performance. An EV show wouldn't be complete without a Nissan Leaf. So we have one of those today as well. This one's a 2020 SL with a 62 kilowatt hour battery. It's another great commuting car, but also this one's great for road trips as well. You can head out because of the long range. It does about 340 kilometers or somewhere around 250 miles of range. So it's the longest range Nissan Leaf available. There's another car on the show today. There we go, another Model 3 leaving the show. A lot of Teslas today at the show. Some Volvo vehicles as well. All right, so let's take a walk around the car show, see what we see. We've got a Kia. Got a Hyundai Ioniq 5. Actually, I should be looking left and right. This one, next one here, we've got is a Volkswagen and a Leaf. And we've got a Kia, a couple of Kias. Ford F-150 Lightning as well. And some Volvos additionally. There we go, Nissan Leaf. Volvo. There we go. Got someone who loves their electric car. Ask me why. Pretty cool bumper sticker on that one. This one's plug-in hybrid. It's got the plug-in located just right here. And we've got a Kia Mini. Hyundai Kona, Chevy Bolt, hello, Tesla Model Y, Tesla Model S. This one's going to be the one with the dual motor, as it does have the smaller frunk in it. Oh, a Tesla Model Y, and we can see underneath. Let's take a look. What do we see inside of the frunk of a Tesla Model Y when you take out the liner? We got a Model Y here with a wrap, it looks like. And this one's a 2016 Model X. And we've got a Mitsubishi Outlander PHEV, Hyundai Ioniq 5, and we got another Hyundai Ioniq 5 as well. Passing by, we got a Chevy Blazer. Oh, excellent. Equinox, Silverado, and Hyundai. Quite a few choices. When I used to come to this show years ago, there were not very many choices available, and now there's so many options of cars. It's quite a change over the past few years. And then we've also got a lot of other new vehicles over here as well. Chevrolet, Mitsubishi, Genesis, and Hyundai. So as we take a look at some of the other vehicles at the car show, we've got a Jeep Rubicon 4xe as well, plugged into the outlet here at the IKEA. And we've also got, as well plugged in here, Kia Sorento EV plugged in, and a Tesla and a Mitsubishi Outlander PHEV as well. So quite a few vehicles plugged in today at the IKEA charger. Okay, and we're here today at the Electric Vehicle Association Annual Car Show, and I have James with me. And James, can you tell me what your position is with the club?
So I'm actually president of the Manitoba Electric Vehicle Association.
All right. And can you tell me what the club is doing today with this car show?
So this is our 14th annual Manitoba EV Fest, and so far our largest one yet.
Okay, yeah. Very good. And tell me a little bit more about the association. What are some of the objectives the association is trying to get done?
So we're after trying to promote the electrification of transportation within Manitoba. So whether that's by car, bike, snowmobile, boat, bus.
Okay, thanks, James. And if someone was considering purchasing an electric vehicle, what advice would you give for them?
The main thing is pick a vehicle that's right for you. Depending on how many kilometers you need to drive, where you're driving, pick a vehicle that's right for you. I own two different EVs, and they have two very different purposes.
Okay, so tell me about your two EVs. Maybe, so I happen to know you have two EVs. You have one that's a shorter range vehicle and one a longer range. So maybe tell me about the one that has the shorter range. What is that one best utilized for?
So that's my 2014 Nissan Leaf, and that's actually I love it. It's a great city car. Does all my little roundabout trips and all that, and especially if I need anything dirty or whatnot hauled around, it's like my little work truck. Yeah.
Okay, great. And what about your other vehicle? Tell me about that one.
So I have also a 2016 Tesla Model X, which is great for longer road trips, and it's great if you're that safety-minded person, right? Teslas are extremely reliable for safety. So if that's kind of your main concerns, that's kind of what I'd shoot for.
Oh, all right. Thanks, James. So tell me about your two EVs. You have a 2014 and a 2016, and I read sometimes online, or people say that you need to replace the battery every 2 or 3 years. Can you tell me your experience with those two cars, if you've had any issues with the battery?
So the 2014 Nissan Leaf has, I believe it's 190,000 kilometers on it, original battery, and going through an app called Leaf Spy, realizing that 73.9% still usable in the battery. 70% at 200,000 kilometers, it probably has another 200 left in it.
Mm-hmm. So that car would have had maybe, say, a range of 160 kilometers when it was new, and now it's got 75% of that, so maybe it does 120 or 100, something like that?
Yeah, so it says on its gauge cluster about 110, 120, which I can plug in at a 120 outlet and it charges in about 3-4 hours. So even as somebody with an apartment or whatnot, it would work for them if you're just driving around the city.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And what about your Tesla? Tell me about the battery on that one. How has it been?
So that one, it seems like maybe has had a little bit rougher of a life. I seem to get about 200 and some kilometer range on it. I haven't actually checked on any sort of app to see what's left in it, but it does. I got a bladder range of 200, so we're good.
Okay. And I guess if you're doing a road trip, you'd probably take the Model X, and
Yeah.
that one would access the Tesla supercharging network, and those stations typically are, 100 to 150 kilometers apart or so. So this
Yeah.
one would be fine for doing road trips as well.
Yeah, that'd be great for doing road trips, and the Tesla network is a very reliable network. So,
All right, great. Thanks, James. You were telling me earlier you also had another EV before these two, and you had done a road trip on it. Can you tell me about that?
so I had a 2019 Hyundai Kona Electric. That was my first EV that I had, and we would do regular trips out to Alberta, but our kind of last road trip with it was actually from Winnipeg to Drumheller, Alberta. And yeah, we did that in one day. So those that say you can't do long road trips in EV, I did it in a day. So
All right. And that distance, just for people who aren't familiar, is probably around 1,000 kilometers. Is that right?
I think it's about 1,200.
1,200
Yeah.
kilometers. Okay,
Yeah.
so about 700 miles. And then when you were doing the road trip, tell me about the infrastructure you were using. Was your car had a CCS plug on it?
So the Hyundai Kona has a CCS, and it is kind of one of the slowest charging EVs. So I would normally be sitting for about an hour or so, letting it charge up. And using the CCS chargers, this is going back about 3 years ago, wasn't as reliable, there wasn't as many of them out there. So it was trying to find that EV charger using PlugShare to find the reliable chargers that are out there.
Okay. Do you remember off the top of your head how many kilowatts your car was recharging at, what speed it was, or did it tell you?
I think the most I ever saw was about 72. It was rated at 75.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
very good. So I know folks that are buying some of the newer EVs. So that was a 2019, so that's
Yeah.
5-year-old technology already. Some of the newer EVs, they're doing 250 to 350 kilowatt speed. So if we're thinking back to when you did your original road trip and you had to wait for an hour, the other ones now are probably 3 or 4 times quicker.
Although even if you had reliable charging infrastructure back then, you could probably get away with charging just even 30 minutes type deal. If you can have a charger every 100 kilometers or so, you just pick it up and go, right?
Right.
Now you got vehicles that are charging at 300 kilowatts or more.
Yeah, so that means a lot less time spent charging, a lot more time driving, and
Yeah.
it just recharges quicker. And I guess also probably need to make fewer stops as well with the newer vehicles.
Yeah.
And then you have more stations available. All right, James, thanks very much for taking the time for the interview, and I hope the association has a great car show today.
Thanks for coming out.
Thanks. Here's one of the cars we got at the car show today. It's a 2024 Tesla Model 3. Let's ask the owner here a few questions. Okay, we're at the electric vehicle car show here in Winnipeg, and I have Richard joining me, and he's the proud owner of this brand new Tesla Model 3 Performance. So, Richard, tell me, how long have you owned this vehicle?
Own the vehicle a whole 8 days.
Oh, excellent. Okay, and have you owned any EVs before this one?
Yes. Previous S and Model 3 Performance.
Okay, and so if you compare this one, your brand new Model 3, to your previous Model 3, do you find that there's been any changes, improvements that Tesla's made to this vehicle compared to the old one?
Absolutely. The previous Model 3 was a wonderful car. I still have it. I still enjoy it. It was a Model 3 Performance as well. Same color combo as this one. But I find that they've taken a multitude of items, probably 50 at least 50 items, and they've just refined it. They've improved on anything that I complained about the old one that was a minor complaint. It seems that they've rectified it. It's just overall a superior car.
Okay. Is there anything in particular that was really nagging at you with your old car that they've improved now on the new one that has made a big difference?
The fit and finish on my old vehicle was actually decent. I've heard, that they could be hit and miss. Mine was decent. This is on a different level. Upon delivery and taking a close look at the car, it's pretty much flawless, as are many other high-end cars. So it's more on par with other manufacturers of higher-end cars. As well, there's so far, it is only a week old, but zero squeaks and rattles, very tight. And then the ride quality is refined immensely. It's the little bumps are pretty much gone. Much smoother ride quality, and as well, much better sound deadening. It's a significantly quieter car. So the overall feel is more of a premium feel.
Okay.
And yet there was nothing wrong with the old one. This is just more of a premium feel.
Okay, great. So if a person has an older Model 3, I think some of the questions that come to mind is it worth my extra money to upgrade to the newer one? So in your opinion, it sounds like it's probably worthwhile?
That's a tough one, because if you're not as fussy, the other one was a wonderful car. So it probably might, would be a huge price difference upgrading, upgrading the car.
For sure.
So if you're not that as fussy, you might be 100% happy saving the bucks and keeping an older one or buying an older one. If you're the type of person that these things bother you and you always want to have, more of the ultimate, then the new one is a superior car. It's a significant upgrade.
Okay, thanks, Richard. So if someone was considering purchasing an electric vehicle and they were asking for your advice, it sounds like you've owned several and you've had quite a few years of experience with them. What would be some important advice you'd give to a friend or relative when they were considering purchasing their first EV?
Well, I'm a wholehearted believer in EVs and the technology, which is improving, of course, rapidly. As I own one, so I obviously like them. I would just say to make sure that when you purchase the EV, to talk to people, not necessarily people who don't own them, talk to people that own them, and as well make sure that it fits your needs. For instance, personally, if I was in a situation where I could only street park the vehicle in the winter and had no availability of home charging, I would question whether it's suitable. If it suits your needs, or for instance, if you had to travel far up north. At this moment, it may be a problem with the charging infrastructure. But if you never travel 100 miles or 200 miles north of Winnipeg, then it's really not an issue. So it would just be making sure that the vehicle fits your needs and that it's going to work for you. And for the vast majority of people, I think it will work for them. But there's the odd person that may have made a mistake and didn't consider certain things that were critical.
Okay, so I think both of those pieces of advice you gave was related to charging. So if you don't have charging available easily at home, that's certainly a really hard question to consider carefully.
Well, it would be an inconvenience. It would be an absolute inconvenience.
And then the other one was if you're doing road trips in remote areas where there's no public charging infrastructure, again, that can...
Exactly, and for most areas there is enough infrastructure from my experience. It would just be really remote, northern, especially in Canada, it could be an issue. And I'm sure that's going to change in the near future.
Yes, for sure. I know there's a lot of additional chargers being put in all the time, and I use plugshare.com to take a look at my charging availability, and I know they're popping up on there quite a bit. So it's a matter of keeping an eye on that and seeing if the charging is available in the areas you're going.
And as far as local charging within the city, to me it's not really an issue because I never have to charge at a charging station. It's always charged at home, and I replenish my daily commute. By the time I finish supper, it's charged back up to where I left in the morning.
So my experience has been probably over 90% of my charging is done at home. So is that similar to yours?
I'd say with
as well?
mine, it's been 99%.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so it's, unless you're a person that's on the road constantly out of the city, then you would be using charging stations, I guess.
Yeah.
But it hasn't been an issue whatsoever. Cold weather performance has also been, the heating system has been phenomenal. Instant heat compared to a gas engine that has to warm up. There's no warm-up time. It starts producing heat within 15 seconds. And the heat's been fantastic, so that hasn't been an issue either. So.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Perfect. Okay, great. Thanks, Richard. So I have another question about how is it to drive the car? How do you feel about the driving dynamics?
I find that with EVs, a lot of people ask you a lot of questions, and there's the assumption that you bought an EV primarily for environmental reasons, which there's nothing wrong with. It is shown or proven to be more environmentally friendly than a gas vehicle. But there's a lot more to a vehicle than just the environment and possibly the cost savings. I'm finding a huge cost savings on fuel with $1.30 to $1.70 a liter. It's saving a lot of money on fuel. But aside from that, you've got to like the way the vehicle drives. If you're spending a significant amount of money, you've got to like the vehicle. And I've owned many high-end ICE gas vehicles, I say higher end, Mercedes, AMGs, and BMWs, etc. And what I find, not too many people ask about the driving dynamics and how does it drive. And I find, at least with this vehicle, with the low center of gravity, the low battery pack, the instant massive torque, that it's a fun, great handling car. And I find the handling rivals many vehicles at 2, 3, 4 times its price. The acceleration is 0 to 60 miles an hour in and around the 3-second mark, and to achieve that in a gas car, you're going to be buying a very high-end sports car, sports sedan, possibly a couple of $100,000 to rival those times. And the nimbleness with the low center of gravity, it's also a very nimble handling car. So, it's not just the fuel saving, the driving dynamics I find to be superior to the equivalent gas vehicle. And taking price into consideration, then it's not even a comparison. So, I might be a little bit biased because I own a car, but that's just my findings.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think it would pay for somebody who hasn't driven one to pick one of the, if you're interested in a higher end car, pick a higher end EV to compare to. But I think you'll be quite surprised when you go for a test drive at how incredible they drive.
So you've got really a combination of best of the both worlds. You've kind of got a sports car with lots of power and lots of speed, but you've also got a practical car with lots of space
and huge and amazing economy, and pretty much almost as close to zero maintenance as you're going to find. And price point. That it's not an inexpensive car by any means, but most cars nowadays are expensive, regardless. So it's still better bang for the buck than the equivalent gas car in my mind.
Makes sense. Perfect. Okay, Richard, wanted to say thanks for taking the time today to show me your car and give me your perspective on electric vehicles. Thanks for all your insight.
It's been a pleasure.
All right, thanks.
You bet.
Well, it's been a fun day at the EV show today. A lot of cars to look at, a lot of people to talk to, and there's just so many vehicles here and of all different types and sizes. When I used to come to this EV show 10 years ago, there was really very few choices available. You kind of had a few Nissan Leafs and a few Teslas and a couple of Mitsubishi i-MiEVs, and that was it. But now look at the choices that we have available today. There's just so many available out there, a lot of options of every shape and size. So thanks for watching. Have a great day.